Developing this morning, nearly 100 migrants arrived in Denver this week, and now the city is scrambling to get emergency shelters set up to accommodate the big influx of people. 9 News reporter Darius Johnson is live in the newsroom with more on this. And Darius, city leaders say they don't know where the migrants came from.
Hey, Gary, that's exactly right. They don't. They also don't know if all the migrants arrived by bus either. We know recently Republican governors from states like Florida and Texas have been busing migrants from their states to places where Democrats hold control. We have reached out to the governor's offices for both states. Texas said it was not them. We have yet to hear back from the governor of Florida at this point in time. Early Tuesday morning, nearly 100 migrants arrived in Denver, causing the city to set up cots at a local recreation center to serve as an emergency shelter for those who have arrived. The city says the emergency shelter will work with nonprofits to connect these people who arrived with resources. They're even considering activating an emergency operations center to respond and coordinate those resources for the unexpected migrants.
We've activated our mass care Department of Command efforts to make sure that we're doing everything that we can around obviously providing shelter at this time. And as we get boots on the ground to provide that shelter and support.
Now, this is not the first time a group of migrants have arrived right here in the city of Denver. 40 others arrived on Friday, and they stayed at a homeless shelter overnight. So when nearly 100 showed up just yesterday morning, that began to overwhelm the system as well as those who are trying to help these migrants who are arriving here, Gary.
All right, we'll see what happens. Maybe they can figure it out. You kind of wonder, did they ask them where they came from? I mean, you know.
You wonder if they're having these talks and if they're having some of these conversations. I know sometimes that can be hard because we don't know if everyone may be speaking the same language. But the one thing they did say, they know some of them came by bus. However, it's unclear if all nearly 100 of them came by bus. So that's definitely something to figure out as well.
It is a mystery. All right. Thanks, Darius. Right now, there are so many people experiencing homelessness in the Denver area. The shelters downtown can't help everyone.
Right now, the city is expanding its bus services for the homeless to take people to places further away that actually have more resources.
Yeah, 9 News reporter Mark Salinger shows us how it could help people feel more stability.
The need in Denver is obvious, but there aren't enough services downtown to help everyone experiencing homelessness.
Transportation is a critical component to the homeless response system in Denver.
For nearly a decade, the city has operated a bus route between the shelters downtown and larger overflow shelters outside the city center. Now those services are expanding.
And when those shelters are full, they're given the option to, get on the bus and go to the shelter space that is available.
Kathy Alderman is with the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless. When Denver starts its new bus service next year, it'll run a full circular route throughout the city, stopping throughout the day at shelters in different spots with services for the homeless.
It's a service that unfortunately we need because we have so many people experiencing homelessness and using shelters.
Most of our guests do not have cars. They rely on bus transportation or walking. And what we had heard from guests is that they were spending inordinate amounts of time with complicated routes to get to their basic employment.
Britta Fisher is the chief housing officer with the city of Denver. She says the nearly $1.5 million the city is investing in transportation for the homeless is about providing opportunity and stability.
We know that folks who are employed, who have access to services, are more likely to bounce back out of an episode of an experience of homelessness.
Services that highlight the need all throughout the city.
Of course, what we'd love to see is that we had enough housing in the city for everyone, and so this transport, may not be necessary. But as a city, we're just not there yet.
Mark Salinger reporting. Now, these new shuttles will run throughout the day and stop at different service providers throughout the city. Advocates say it'll help people get to places like doctor's appointments or job interviews without having to pay for a normal bus ticket.
The suspect accused of killing 5 people at Club Q in Colorado Springs last month is now facing more than 300 counts, including murder and hate crimes charges. The suspect appeared in court yesterday. El Paso County District Attorney Michael Allen says this could end up being the most heavily prosecuted murder case in state history. The 305 counts include first-degree murder, assault, and 47 counts of bias-motivated crimes. 5 people died that night. 17 others were hurt. Now the DA says he hopes the charges send a message.
We're not going to tolerate actions against community members based on their sexual identity, members of that community have been harassed, intimidated, and abused for too long. That's not going to occur in the 4th Judicial District.
A preliminary hearing is scheduled for February. The Associated Press is reporting details from sealed law enforcement documents saying the suspect once called themselves the next mass killer. The suspect reportedly made those comments last summer after threatening to kill his grandparents for moving out of the state.
Well, the Colorado Healing Fund is still accepting donations to support families and survivors from the Club Q shooting in Colorado Springs. The nonprofit says it will now allow all donations, though, to go to the people impacted. So far, people have donated almost $2 million, including $120,000 from 9 News viewers. That is through the Next Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign. Some Club Q survivors did object to the nonprofit taking a portion of the donations to cover the overhead costs. So the Colorado Healing Fund has announced that some anonymous donors are going to pay all of the overhead. It hopes to use that model going forward for future tragedies.
This morning, NBC is projecting Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock will win the Senate runoff race in Georgia. Warnock is leading Republican challenger Herschel Walker by about 100,000 votes right now. Walker conceded last night, and that means Warnock will spend 6 more years in Washington, and Democrats will have a 51-49 majority in the Senate. Democrats had already secured control, but Warnock's win means there is less of a chance that Vice President Kamala Harris will have to break any ties.